Hi there, and welcome. Now, I want to be clear right from the start. This isn't going to be a lesson or some kind of how-to guide. Really think of this as more of an orientation, a chance for us to get our bearings in a pretty fascinating field of inquiry. We're going to explore this idea of dreaming thought into being.
So, I want to kick things off with a question, and I'd like for us to just let it sit there for a second. What if thinking is not something we do, but something we participate in? What if it's not some task we have to control, but more like a living process that we're already a part of? This single question, it's really the heart of everything we're about to dive into.
Okay, so let's dig into that idea, this idea of a participatory process. Because this whole approach, this dreaming thought into being, it really asks for a total shift in our perspective. It's about moving away from the idea that thinking is just this, I don't know, this purely cognitive thing that happens locked away inside our heads. Instead, we start to see it as a dynamic, living, and relational experience.
I just love this metaphor here. We tend to think of a thought as this static object, right? Like a brick you can hold or a piece of data you can file away. But what if it's not like that at all? What if it's more like a living thread, part of a huge tapestry, a pattern that's constantly in motion, woven through everything? Our sensations, our emotions, our relationships with others. It's an embodied process, you see, not just something abstract happening up in the cloud. And this brings us to a really crucial idea, something called conditional agency. It sounds a bit academic, but it's actually pretty simple. It's about our freedom, our capacity to make choices in how we think. The key word here is conditional. It means this agency isn't something we just have. It's not guaranteed. It's a capacity that emerges, something we have to cultivate. And how do we do that? By becoming more aware of all the conditions that are shaping our thinking in the first place. See, it's not about control. It's all about awareness. All right, so if we're not directly controlling thought, then what in the world can we do? Well, it turns out we can influence the field where thought unfolds. And we can do that by playing with two, what we'll call creative variables. These are the conditions we can actually consciously shape. Okay, so these two forces are really complementary. First up, you've got systems thinking. Think of this as getting the lay of the land. It's about seeing the whole picture, noticing all the interconnections and the hidden patterns in a situation. It helps us understand how things are connected. It's kind of observational. But then you have its partner, generative framing. This is where we get participatory. This is about actively shaping the conditions, the questions we ask, the metaphors we use, to allow for totally new meaning and new actions to arise. It's how we change what can happen next. And this quote just nails the difference, doesn't it? Systems thinking tells you what is happening. Generative framing changes what can happen next. It's so clear. One is like drawing the map of the territory. The other is about finding a whole new way to walk through that territory, maybe even changing the landscape itself as you go. One informs, the other activates. And they work together beautifully. They're not at odds at all.
Now, I know this can all start to feel a little bit abstract, a little up in the clouds. So let's bring it down to earth with a concrete practice. We're going to talk about mind mapping. But, and this is a big but, probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. This is really about embodying a certain posture, not just picking up another productivity tool.
Yeah, so the first thing we need to do is kind of throw out the old idea of mind mapping. We're not talking about a tool to neatly organize information you already have. No, we're talking about a practice for participating with thought as it's emerging. It's a way to get it out of your head and onto the page while it's still alive, still messy, still in motion. And when you approach it like this, it becomes this incredibly generative practice. I mean, think about it. It reveals relationships spatially. You can literally see how ideas connect, which is so different from a linear list. It totally allows for surprise and discovery. You'll find connections you had no idea were there. And as we said, it externalizes that thought in motion. But maybe most importantly, it does this beautiful balancing act. It helps you build coherence to see the whole, while at the same time leaving space for emergence, for that brand new, unexpected idea to pop up. So as we start to wrap this up, I want to come back to something really, really essential. This whole idea of dreaming thought into being, it's not a destination you arrive at. It's not a fixed system you're supposed to adopt. It is, at its core, an ongoing exploration, an invitation to inquiry. In fact, it's designed to resist being packaged up into some neat, tidy framework. And that, right there, is the heart of it all. This isn't another method you have to learn or some system you're supposed to adopt. Please don't think of it as another productivity hack to add to your list. It's really about a fundamental shift in our relationship with thinking itself. It is an inquiry to be lived, moment by moment.
So I'll leave you with one final question to carry with you, an inquiry to maybe live with for a bit. What becomes possible when we stop trying so hard to control our thinking, and instead we just start to participate with it? When we treat it like the living, creative process it is? Really, what becomes possible then?